welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in a logical order. You'll find that when you work with substrings, C# has a wealth of methods for manipulating strings. And it would have been nice to know about all these methods when we were first working with string variables. But there's a reason we didn't know. These methods often require loops, decision statements, arrays, and so on in order to be used effectively. We didn't have that knowledge. Now we do. The following video is an overview of all the methods you can use to manipulate strings. This video will be followed by a series of videos showing you how to use each method effectively. I'm doing each video separately because these are all the things you'll want to come back to and refer to individually when writing code. Some of these methods you'll use rarely, so you don't want them cluttering up your brains. Rather go back and check it out when you need them. The ones you use regularly will become part of your programming style. They'll stick with you. Well, let's take a look at these bad boys and see how and why we might use them. Some programming tasks require that you search for a specific string of characters within a string. That string within a string is called a substring. Objects of the string data type have several methods that allow you to search for substrings. The next set of substring methods lets you know if the substring you are searching for is contained in the larger variable. We're going to take a look at a bunch of these right now. We'll start with the string contains method. These first methods are going to simply find out if a string exists within a string. And in the case of the contains method, this method tells you if the substring you're looking for is contained in a larger string variable. It returns a true if the substring is found, otherwise it returns a false. And you can see the method, the way you actually do it here is string var .contains, and then the substring is placed in there. You could also do it based on character. So you can look for the use of the character data type and find out if this particular character is inside a larger string. Now, that string can be huge. It could be the novel Moby Dick, for example, because a string can contain almost 2 billion characters. Not you're going to have a lot of strings that have that many, but it is potential that you could have this very, very large string and be able to search for it. The starts with method is another method you can use to identify if something is there at the beginning of a string. So you might have your large string and you're checking to see if it begins with something. Well, we could look at, say we have a list of rules in a set of arrays, and we have rule 1, rule 2, rule 3. We might want to check to make sure the word RULE is in the place and beginning of each of those strings. Start with would do that for us. We could actually truck down there and go through. Every time we found it, we get a true statement and we'd be fine. If we didn't, we'd know we had an error in one of those elements, array elements. The ends with method, it tells you if a substring is at the end of a string that you might be looking for. What you might be looking for here, maybe that everything is following with a period, or maybe the word the end is going to be at the end of a set of statements in an array of some kind. Or you might have a signature at the end and you're checking for that particular signature is going to be at the back end of the array. These are just going to tell you if it's there in the string or not. That's the important part of this kind of thing. However, many times you're going to go beyond needing to know just if it's there or not. You might want to know where it's there. So the next set of substring methods goes beyond the previous method. This set will tell you where in the variable your substring is, or matching character exists in the larger variable. Index of method is the one we're going to use first. We're going to take a look at first. And this method tells you where the first occurrence of a substring you're looking for is in the larger string variable. It returns the integer position of that first occurrence, otherwise a -1. So if you're looking for, let's go back to the novel Moby Dick. Let's say you're looking for the word Moby Dick in the larger string. This will tell you where that beginning string is and where in the position it happens to be in. If it's 3 chapters in as the first time the word Moby Dick appears, it'll give you that particular logical position in an integer format and let you know where it is. It'll only tell you where the first one is, and that's it. There are other methods that are going a little beyond that. It also, you can do this as a character. If you're looking for the character Z to see if it exists in your larger string, this will do the same thing. It'll tell you where the Z actually begins. So it's a nice way to look for certain particular. Let's say you're looking for a period or a question mark or an exclamation point in a document. This will tell you where that first one is. Substring index of start method is very similar to the index of method, except you're going to specify the starting position you'd like it to look for it. So if you went through this paragraph and you're looking for that first period, and you know it's in position 12, you might want to start in position 13 to see if there's another period in there. So then you would actually do that. You would actually put 13 in the word start, and then go ahead and look for the next substring to see if it occurs in there. Same thing with character. If you're looking for it, you can specify the character and then the starting position for that. Index of start with a count method goes a little bit beyond that. This time it allows you to specify the starting position of the string you're looking for, and then how far out to look. Maybe you just want to look at the next 10 characters. Maybe you want to look at the next 500 characters, something of that nature. That count is going to tell you how far to actually look forward as you're doing it. You can also do it in a reverse method. If you're looking for that same character string, that period, you can start from the back end of your string by using the last index of method. And it's going to take a look and start going backwards from the back all the way to the front to find it. To find the last index, the first one going backwards, but it's going to look for it in a backwards fashion to find where that string occurs. Same thing with characters. You can use the same thing there as well. Last index of start method. Again, similar to the index of start method, except this time we're going backwards. We're looking for the last occurrence of the substring you're looking for is contained in your larger string variable, beginning at a specific start position and working backwards. It returns the integer position at last occurrence. And I should say, in all these index of methods, it returns a -1 if the string's not found. So you're going to have this inside an if statement of some kind, and if it returns an integer of some kind, you found it and you know where it is. But if it didn't find anything, you get this -1 coming back to you. Much like if you're looking at a list, same kind of concept. Substring last index of start count method. Identical to the index of start count method, except you're going backwards. This method tells you where the last occurrence of the substring you're looking for is contained in your larger string variable, beginning at a specific start position and continuing backwards. It continues from the start position of the number of characters specified in the count in a reverse direction. It returns the integer position of that first occurrence, returns a -1 if the string's not found. And you can see if you put this thing in a loop, you could find one occurrence. Then you could be looking at the next occurrence and the next occurrence going backwards or forward if you use the index of method. Sometimes knowing if a substring exists or even where the substring is not enough. Often we want to extract the substring from the larger variable. One example might be extracting area codes from a series of telephone numbers. So you can see a little picture of area codes here, and you can see there are different formats. You might have parentheses around them, you might not. All that means you're going to have to do some manipulating, maybe some converting of these telephone numbers to all the same format. Then you can extract the piece you actually want to find. Well, we can do that by looking at the substring start method. This method extracts all the characters from the variable starting at the integer position identified in the start parameter. So what you're looking at is you've got this, again, Moby Dick, and you're looking for the word Moby Dick, or maybe Captain Ahab. And you might say that my new variable is going to begin, I want to grab everything from a particular position, maybe position 12. I'm skipping the first 11 characters. Or position 3000. I'm skipping the first chapter of the book. I want to grab everything else and bring it into this new string variable. So literally, we'll bypass a bunch of characters and then allow you to bring in the rest into a new variable. Substring start count method goes beyond that. It does the same thing. You tell it the starting position in the string you want to look at, but then you can also control how far out you want to go. I want to go out 100 characters. I want to grab the next 10 after that and pull them into this new variable I've got here and hang on to that. Works well if you know that you've got a column of characters or column of people who belong to a club members. And you're looking for all the last names, and you know that they're all in a particular position because they came in from a database. And you know you've got the first 30 positions are going to be phone numbers, things of that nature. But you want the last name, and you know it starts in position 40. And you know they're never longer than 20 characters long. So starting in position 40, you want to grab the next 20 and then pull it. And these might be an array of characters that you can actually go and step through a loop and pull all these things out, get all the last names in one set of variables. Methods for modifying a string. In fact, you can probably see why I'm going to go do these things individually as we go forward, because we need to take the time to look at how each one of these things works. It's good to see the overview and just what it all is. But when you're actually working these things, it's kind of good to get a handle and see, well, how does modify a string work? You know, what things we have. And there are also times we want to change the contents of a string. So we've got a string out there. We could be talking about all the string or a portion of the string. And there's 8 methods to help us do that. Let's take a look at these. The insert method. This method returns a string with the contents of the str item inserted at the start position. So we're taking a variable. It might be a set of names. So you might have my name in there. And what you can do is at the starting position, say my first name, Daryl, is 7 characters long. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 is a space. 8 is where I want to go. So I'm going to specify 8. I want to put my middle initial right there. str item will go in that particular position. Or maybe I want to stick a entire middle name in there. I can go ahead and do that. Put the whole item right in there at that particular starting position. It'll move everything out. Slap the new thing in there, and you've got a brand new variable with those contents sitting in there. That's how the insert method works. You can also remove data from a string. This method removes a string with all the contents beginning at the starting position removed. So we're looking at string var remove start. So we're going to say I've got a set of names again, and I would like to remove everything after the 10th position. So what's going to happen is it's going to return 1 through 9. 0 through 9 actually is going to come back into my new variables. Anything trailing that is going to be gone. It's just going to be wiped out. So that's one way of getting rid of that kind of stuff. You can also remove start for a count for a period. So I can take my string variable, a set of names again, and just remove the middle initials. Maybe I want to go. Maybe I know where all that's going to be. Maybe it's going to be the first 20 characters is the first name, and I got room for it. A lot of spaces in there. There's a middle string where there's initial, and there's a ending part of the string, which is another 20 characters. Maybe I want to remove that middle one. Maybe it's a D period or an F period or a bunch of middle initials in there. I might want to go to that position, which might be position 21, and for a length of 2, I want to remove it. That's going to get rid of all the middle initials and bring in just the first and last name into my new variable. Again, you got to see this. To-lower method. This goes way back. This is a variable or a method that was around way back, even in the Radio Shack basic days. You wanted to be able to lower your case. It might have been, I think it was spelled differently at the time, but it was a lower method. And this method returns a string with all the contents converted to lowercase. So no matter what I got, if I got a series of names and I'd like to remove them all or just make them all lowercase, this method will do it for me. String var to lower takes that variable and puts it inside a new variable, all lowercase. Good way of taking login IDs, converting them all to smaller case. Or it's a good way of converting or to matching to see if it's a good way to look at the login name and see if it matches something that's on your list. The best way to do that is people might type it in differently every time they do it. They might type in a capital letter, then the rest of their login name. You want to get that all lowercase and then compare it to what you have on your chart and be able to see if it's there. We have an identical one is to upper method. Same thing. It returns a string with all the contents converted to uppercase. So when you're doing a match again, you might want to simply take the variables you're bringing in, the names, and then make them all uppercase into this new variable. Then you can match the uppercase that you might have in a list. These next 3 are kind of interesting too. The trim method. This is very often used in database work when you're trying to get rid of clutter in your names. And this method returns a string with all leading and trailing spaces removed. Often in a database, you're going to put names in a field, and that first name field might be 20 long, and the last name field might be 20 long, and then Bob Smith is going to fit in there. They're going to pad that with spaces on the end. Smith is going to get padded with space on the end, and they're going to sit in the database. Later on, you might extract that. You want to bring that into your program, and you want to print out the names. You want to print out the names so they look good because they're going in a letter. Well, you don't want Bob space Smith. You want Bob space Smith. You want to be able to trim that. So the trim method gets rid of all leading and ending spaces removed from the variable that you're working with. Trim start does the same thing, except it only removes the leading spaces from that variable. And string trim var trim end gets rid of all the trailing spaces in particular variable. That's it. Those are the methods you're going to be using to manipulate strings. And we'll take a look at all of these in the coming videos, and we'll spend some time working with how each one actually works. You've got a good example of what's going on going forward. That's it.
Well, that's them. The next videos will show you how to actually use these methods in code. And you will find that they are a very, very important part of the programming process.
I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos. If you get a chance, please subscribe. That way you'll be notified when something new is available. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.